Representative Pat Proctor with Watch Kansas, and I'm here with County Commissioner Mike Steben and with Senator Jerry Moran. We're at the Leavenworth County Republican Party picnic in Basehor, and we've cornered the senator for a minute, and we wanted to ask him a couple questions and share his answers with you. So first of all, thank you, Senator, for being here today. You know, we're really concerned in the legislature about the federal takeover of our elections. You know, we just passed a couple of election laws to try to tighten up our laws here in Kansas, and we're scared about the federal government taking over the election system with H.R. 1 and S1. Can you talk to us a little bit about the battle you're fighting to keep that from happening?
Pat, you and your colleagues are absolutely right to be worried about this. Kansans should be worried, Americans should be worried, and H.R. 1, now Senate Bill 1, is one of the worst pieces of legislation I've ever encountered during my time in the Congress. And we've been to the Senate floor several times now speaking against it. It failed on a procedural vote to move forward in the Senate because the Senate requires 60 votes to do that. So it was a 50-50 vote. The Vice President was available if it was going to make a difference, but we were able to defeat the bill coming for consideration to the Senate floor. What we worry about is that the Democrat senators, Schumer in particular, will try to use this failure to advance that bill to change the Senate rules and make all legislation be able to be passed with 51 votes, not 60. That would be a terrible outcome too. So the legislation is bad, and if they use its defeat to change the rules of the Senate, that has long-lasting consequences. But the bill is bad for lots of reasons, but the basic one is the Constitution grants the Kansas people that you represent the ability to determine elections. We do not want Washington, D.C. telling us how to conduct elections in Leavenworth County or across the state. And the Constitution makes that clear. It's to be decided here. And this is a specific aspect of this, so it does away with voter ID, something that makes such sense to me. I mean, I want everybody who's legally entitled to vote to be able to vote. But if you're not legally entitled to vote, you shouldn't be voting. It's against the law. And you ought to have to prove with an ID that you are legally entitled to vote. And that has become such a controversy. And in this case, apparently every Democrat in the Senate doesn't believe that's an important requirement to vote. So lots of details. Scott Schwab, the Kansas Secretary of State, and I are penning an op-ed piece to send to our newspapers in Kansas to try to outline these issues to make sure that Kansans understand this isn't about Republicans not wanting the people to be able to vote. It's about doing it the way the Constitution says and doing it in a legal fashion. Thank you. You're welcome.
Senator Moran, thank you for coming to
It's good to be in Leavenworth County. Thank you.
We really appreciate it. I have a twofold question. It's on the issue of the federal budget. Could you kind of reflect on where we're at on the total federal spending, and what the deficit's doing, and what it looks like in the out years? And then for Leavenworth County, can you address on the infrastructure bill the possibility of the bridge that get us to the airport in 15 minutes?
Well, you know, this is a dilemma I face, Commissioner, because people will say, quit spending money, but oh, by the way, there's this bridge. And I know that you weren't doing that. I mean, we are working on an infrastructure bill. I actually think investment in infrastructure is paid for if it's narrow and small. I mean, I don't know if small is the right word, but it's related to infrastructure. I mean, the bill that Bernie Sanders is talking about, he's the chairman of the Budget Committee in the United States Senate. So Senator Sanders chairs that, and he's proposing a $6 trillion infrastructure bill. The President Biden, talked about someplace between 3 and 4 trillion. We're looking at something in the billions, not in the trillions, to invest in infrastructure and to pay for it, to reduce spending someplace else. Not raising taxes, but to reduce spending someplace else to pay for infrastructure. And if we're successful, I mean, what that will mean is additional resources for Kansas. Pat will have the opportunity in Topeka to try to convince the Kansas Department of Transportation what are the priority projects in Kansas.
And we're counting on it.
And we'll all work together to see if we can't convince the state of Kansas that they have the resources, that there is need for a bridge. And I've been involved in this issue for a long time, and the challenge we faced is getting Missouri to be interested in helping pay for anything that seemingly, according to them,
we seem to have some of the counties are with us.
That's good to hear, because that's a development that can make a difference. But what you highlight is that we're spending a lot more money than we have. And the outcome of that, at some point in time, either we solve this problem voluntarily, or the country's economy begins to fall apart. It begins to fall apart when our debt is such that the interest rates rise because we're high risk. The question is, can the United States afford to pay us back the debt that has been lent? And therefore, interest rates rise because it's riskier. You want a better return on your money. In the absence of that, at some point in time, people say, we're not going to loan them any money. They're never going to be able to pay this back.
That's kind
And
of
then we all fall apart. And in interest
Yeah.
rates rising, we're already seeing consequences of all the spending in inflation. Look at all the things that are going up in price. That's a form of a tax, meaning people have to pay more for groceries or for gasoline, for even just the necessities of life, let alone the luxuries. So as a consequence of major spending increases, COVID-19 being part of that, but now all the talk about $6 trillion for infrastructure or $3 to $4 trillion, the realization is perhaps coming to more Republicans that this can't continue.
What is the federal budget rate?
Well,
Total federal budget.
it is trillions of dollars, and I'd have to look to be able to tell you. The outcome of all this spending is that the challenge we face is that I'm an appropriator. We could reduce spending, which we have generally held the line reasonably flat over the years that I've been in the Senate. But where the increasing costs come is what's called mandatory spending. So you could eliminate all discretionary spending. It's about a third of the budget, but the things that are rising in expense are in significant ways Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Defense spending has risen. I think that will not be the case in the Biden administration. It was true of the Trump administration. So, and incidentally, I think that's one of the basic things we should be spending money on. So, trying to get a Congress to come together and say, we're going to reduce spending, or we're going to do something about Social Security and Medicare, healthcare costs, it's a real challenge. And we need the American people to wake up. I'm back on the road doing town hall meetings across Kansas. Took about a year off because of COVID. Didn't want to be accused of creating any problems for anybody. And the conversation about spending, just like the one we're having today, is becoming much more common, and that's a good thing. When I started in Congress, every town hall meeting had a component of people there to say, quit spending so darn much money. Today, over the years, that's changed. It used to be, I think, Democrats and Republicans agreed that you couldn't spend more money than you had. Then Democrats walked away from it, and unfortunately, I think Republicans have walked away as well.
It's just exploding.
It is. With a terrible consequence for the American people, even if they don't know it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Senator, on behalf of me and Mike, thank you for coming to Leavenworth, and on behalf of Watch Kansas, thank you for taking me.
Thank you both for your public service and best wishes. Please consider me an ally in Topeka, an ally in Leavenworth County, so that we can try to make good things happen without spending a lot of money.
That's right.
All right.